Today I'd like to show you how to make lasagna using a springform tin and coating it with a bechamel sauce. So let me introduce you to the ingredients. We have 85 grams or half a cup of mozzarella, 250 grams or 1 cup of ricotta, 400 milliliters or 14 ounces of spaghetti sauce or passata, 2 eggs, 500 grams or a pound of minced beef, 1 diced onion, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, half a teaspoon of salt and pepper, half a teaspoon of fennel seeds, 1 teaspoon of thyme, half a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and a pack of fresh pasta sheets, which is approximately 6 to 8 sheets. Now for the bechamel, we have 400 milliliters of milk with 2 bay leaves added, 3 tablespoons of breadcrumbs, 30 grams or a quarter cup of flour, half a teaspoon of grated nutmeg, 2 egg whites, 30 grams or half a cup of Parmesan cheese, 2 egg yolks, half a teaspoon of ground pepper, and 65 grams or a quarter cup of melted butter. And let me introduce you to the equipment. You're going to need a few utensils, things like ladles. We want a small pair of scissors. We want a springform tin with a sling, so it's nice and easy to lift in, lift out, and form the lasagna. Amongst other things, a couple of spatulas, a glass bowl or two, along with maybe a glass jug. We're also going to want a blender, that way we can prepare the sauce and ensure it has a perfectly smooth consistency. We're also going to want to use oils, so we'll need a little bit of olive oil to fry with, and to line the springform pan, we're going to want to use some oil around the edges. So first of all, let's begin by making the cheese sauce, which is for layering in the lasagna. So we have our eggs, our mozzarella, ricotta, our herbs, salt and pepper. So we want to essentially add everything all into the bowl. So we can start with the ricotta, our 2 eggs, the mozzarella, our fennel seeds, the thyme, the oregano, salt and pepper, and the Italian herb mix. We now want to give that a suitable whisk. We can either use the electric blender, a hand whisk, a spatula or a fork. We now have our cheese sauce ready for the pasta and adding to the layers in the lasagna. Next we want to remove the lid from our pressure cooker and select saute mode. We can now add a good glug of olive oil, approximately 2 tablespoons. And if you wish to, you can always add more pepper. Now the temperature's come up to about halfway, we can add the mince. And we want to just give this a good stir until it goes to brown. Once it's about halfway browned, we can add our onions. And giving it another minute, we now want to add our garlic. After a few minutes of cook time, we can now switch off saute mode, and using heat-proof gloves, we can add the mince into a bowl. We now want to place this to one side. and give our bowl a quick wash. There are two ways we can cook this. Using a second crock pot or second pressure cooker, we can make the bechamel whilst we're cooking the lasagna, or alternatively, we can make the bechamel before the lasagna, and that will allow it to be ready to go for when the lasagna comes from the pressure cooker. So we can either cook the bechamel during the cooking of the lasagna, or we can wait till the lasagna is done, clean the pan, and then do the bechamel. So we can now begin layering the lasagna. First of all, we want to use some oil. And just spray around the edges of the tin, just to ensure it's non-stick. We now have our pasta sheets, and the easy thing to do is just cut them in half using scissors. And layer 2 sheets at the bottom of the tin. We now want to use our ladle, and we want some meat, approximately 1/3, and our second ladle, some sauce, that's tomato sauce, and some cheese. We now want to use another layer of pasta. And repeat the process. Meat. Sauce. And cheese. Once again, cut our pasta sheet into 2 squares and place in a cross, alternate in another layer, and using the remaining of our meat, our sauce, and some cheese, and just reserving a little bit of cheese just for the last layer. Once again, cutting 2 squares. And then using our spatula to add the remaining cheese. And the remaining tomato. So after a quick tidy up and a quick wipe round, we're now ready to add the lasagna. So first of all, we want to remove the lid, add 1.5 cups of water, and lift our lasagna and place into the pot. So now we just want to check that the lid is set to sealed and not vent. Place on and lock, and we want to select manual mode, 25 minutes. If you're using the turbo mode, you can take that down to 15 minutes. And whilst that's cooking, instead of doing the bechamel and placing into a bowl and then doing the lasagna, we can use the other cooker to make the bechamel. So for the bechamel, we just want to remove the lid and we want saute or brown. And we want to add our milk with the 2 bay leaves. And having a spatula to hand, we want to add our pepper. Our butter. And now give that some time to heat up. So the pressure cooker has now come up to pressure and the lasagna is counting down for 25 minutes cook time. Meanwhile, we want to check back in with our milk and give that a good stir. Now the milk's boiling sufficiently, we can add the nutmeg. We then want to add our flour. And this is the point where we want to use our whisk. I did forget to add, using the scissors we can remove the bay leaves. We can now add our egg white. And then our parmesan. Now it's up to you. You can either add the yolks or you can leave them out. We can now cancel cook mode. We now want to use our heat-proof gloves to transfer the bechamel into a jug. So now that the pressure cooker has finished the timer, we can switch off and depressurize. If you wish to, you can place a tea towel over the vent. Now that the lid's unlocked, we can remove the lid and using our heat-proof gloves, we can lift out the lasagna onto a plate. Now there are a couple of options with this. You can open it on the plate directly, however I do prefer to use a Pyrex baking dish. We now want to spread over the breadcrumbs. And giving the bechamel a quick stir, layer the bechamel. Now, if you wish to, you can serve that as is. My suggestion would be, now that it's topped, place it back into the pressure cooker for another couple of minutes. So we want manual, 2 minutes. So with the lid set in the lock position and not vent, the time has begun of 2 minutes. Once the 2 minutes is finished, we can instantly depressurize. Now that the 2-minute countdown is finished, we can switch off the pressure cooker and depressurise. Now that the pressure cooker is depressurised, we can remove the lid and lift out the lasagna. First we can place it onto a plate, and then to remove it from the sling, we can place it into the Pyrex dish. Now it's worth giving that a minute or so to settle. Meanwhile, we can give our pan a quick wash. Now that the springform has had a couple of minutes to settle, we can simply open the spring. And lift up the springform. So it's now time for the taste test. The consistency of the bechamel is absolutely incredible. And combined with the flavour of the herbs and the richness of the tomato, the pasta has a perfect level of bite. If you want something quick and something extremely comforting, extremely healthy, and absolutely delicious, I definitely recommend this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed cooking the food as much as I've enjoyed cooking the food, and I hope you're enjoying eating the food as much as I'm enjoying eating the food. If you like what you've seen today, simply subscribe where you can get the latest videos brought to you as soon as they're released. Information and recipe is available in the description below the video. Thanks again, see you in the next one.